Hey guys, it's Adam from Square Logics. Thanks for taking the time to watch this video. This is my Acer 1 LCD replacement video. Basically, I'm just going to walk you through on how to replace an LCD screen. It's pretty simple, and these little netbooks are pretty easy, pretty nice to have around the house, but they're also pretty easy to get it replaced. This is the screen here. You want to make sure that you compare the models, make sure you get the right screen for your model, and each different, even in the same series, sometimes they have different screens. So make sure you. I actually pulled this one apart, pulled the model number off of the actual LCD screen, and ordered the correct one. That there's just to show you this is Acer 1. The screen is cracked. This one was actually cracked from the back. First, you want to make sure you remove all the power the laptop down, remove the AC adapter and the battery. On most laptops, you'll actually see that they have different screws on the back, but on this case, I just need two Phillips screwdrivers, a pry tool, and a flathead screwdriver, and I'll show you how that comes in handy later. Some laptops you actually have to remove some screws from the back to get to the access plate. This one's nice and easy. You don't actually have to do that. So we're going to actually open the shell here, and there's actually two screw covers. You take that very small flathead screwdriver that I just told you about, and you're going to pry these off. Be careful not to handle them too much. You want to keep them sticky, so when you put the screen back together, you can actually put those back on. So once you remove those, go ahead and just remove the screws that are underneath them. I actually unscrew them here, and then actually had to run my screwdriver back through a magnetizer because it's not pulling them off. So here I'm actually going back and pulling the screws out with a magnetized screwdriver. Now we're going to take our pry tool and basically just pull off that front plastic that basically encases this screen here. You want to be very careful, try not to break any tabs. Just kind of work that pry tool in there. You'll feel the tabs. If you can get that pry tool right where the tab is and just ease on it a little bit, you'll pop it up. And then on this laptop, there's four screws. Basically, they're four screws all the way around the corner that actually hold this screen to that back plastic. You just remove those, and you got to be careful though. Once you remove them, that back plastic is going to fall off. So if you have any, usually on a larger laptop, if you have heavy back plastic, it could fall and maybe pull something. So be very careful taking those off. Try not to strip them out, especially when you put them back in. But also, this one had some tape near the hinges that actually held the wires into the hinges. You want to remove that, but set it aside because you're going to want to try to reuse it again. This is the back here. There's actually a web camera in this one. Actually remove the plug from that. Use that little small flathead screwdriver. Just kind of work that plug out. Be very careful though. Try not to have to replace the cables when possible. I like to reuse them as much as we can. Then kind of just work these cables loose. This one here, you notice the flex cable, which is the actual data going into the back of the screen there. It's actually taped down. Trying to work the cable loose before I pull the tape off because they can damage pretty easily. So once I get it loose there, then I'll actually take the tape and pull the tape out, and that actually removes that ribbon cable from the back of the laptop. So that's disconnected. There's a ribbon cable. Be very careful not to damage the connector there. I actually have to go back later and fix it a little bit. It came separated. Now you want to remove the LCD screen from the metal brackets. These basically just hold that screen in place. Be very careful though, when you remove these screws, it's going to be the LCD screen is going to be free. Try not to cut yourself, especially if you have a really badly damaged screen, because once these four screws are removed, the screen falls like that. So there's a broken screen. Here's the comparison of both the screens there. You can tell the newer one has a smaller board on the back, which is okay. Technology's gotten a little bit better. Just going to remove the protection cover off of there. Just kind of want to make sure the holes are going to line up before I install this screen. Everything looks good there, so I'm going to go ahead and put the screen back in. When putting the screen back in, I always put a top screw in first. That kind of lets you hold it there in place, but I don't screw the screws in all the way. We're going to actually put the screws in and allow them to leave them loose, and then square it up. You see I'm going back now. I'm going to square the screen up and then tighten on the screws. So once those are tightened, or once it's squared up, you want to tighten those back up. Be careful not to strip them, because a lot of those screw connections are plastic. So be very careful there. Now here I'm actually putting the ribbon cable back into this new screen. I actually need to the ribbon cable, which is the connector that goes into the back of the screen there, actually came separated, so I have to get my little flathead and push that pin back together. Once I get it back together, voila, it fits right in. I was able to reuse the tape. Sometimes you have to reapply tape on the back there. And then you want to get the webcam connector back up there. And this is probably the trickiest part, is getting all these cables to lay. You'll notice when you take your Acer 1 apart that there are tracks where the different cables run, the antenna wires. Getting all the wires back into those is very important, and can be kind of annoying. Sometimes you'll put the ribbon cable in and then you try to adjust it somewhere else and that pops out on the other side. So be very careful. Make sure you get all that lined up and put back in, kind of lining up the screen with that back plate there. There's actually like little pegs that it fits into to make sure it's aligned correctly, and that way the screw holes will also line up. So laying the ribbon cable in, you'll see that I have some issues come up. Putting the tape back on where the hinges were holding the ribbon cable in there. The tape for that as well I was able to reuse. It was still sticky. Didn't handle it a lot, so you want to try to reuse as much stuff as possible. It'll save you repair costs. So now I'm going to put the screws back in, the 4 screws that hold that back plate together. I usually start with the edges because they're the ones that are going to actually pull away first. This kind of gets you lined in there. In these, you can actually go ahead and tighten all the way down, unlike the metal frame, because those pegs in that back piece force that screen to be squared up with that back plate. So you can go ahead and tighten these screws in. Yeah, be careful. Usually, most manufacturers now are putting these basically little nuts inside of the plastic, but you could still strip those nuts out of the plastic. So you want to be very careful when you tighten it down. I've actually tightened them really tight, and then the nut will actually twist in the plastic and break that black plastic. So I just make sure it closes, make sure everything's lined up, make sure all the cables are in the tracks like they should be. And I'm actually going to go ahead on this one. I want to go ahead and, before putting it all together, I want to make sure it powers on. So I'm going to go ahead and fire it up, and let's take a look at the screen here. Looks good, no cracks. So I'm going to go ahead and shut it back down. I don't want it to boot all the way up. I just want to make sure the screen comes on. The big thing is making sure that power inverter powers that backlight on that screen, and make sure that there's no lines or anything in the screen. Make sure you don't have a faulty screen, because now would be a good time to do that. Some people test before they put the backplate on. It's 4 screws, not too much time consuming, and done this quite a while, so I know that when I able to put that flex cable in, I get it real snug, and I make sure that tape sticks down really well. So I'm gonna put those screws back in on the front piece. That front piece actually snaps in. Those little tabs will snap in, and then you notice here I save those covers. It doesn't help to have, wouldn't hurt to have any of those spares if you have a laptop that you try to repair it and it didn't work out for you. You can keep some of those around. You can also just use glue and put them back in, or they make double-sided tape for that. So that's it, put back together. looks pretty nice. Um, I'm a craftsman. I always wipe down, get all your fingerprints off, be professional. So that's what I did. Make sure there weren't any fingerprints on this new screen. As a customer, the last thing I want to do is pay for a new screen replacement, get my screen back, and it's got all these fingerprints on it. So get you a good microfiber cloth. This one's actually a Norwex cloth. It's really good microfiber cloth. And you can see here the screen comes up, looks great. Thanks again for taking the time to watch this video. I really appreciate it. Be sure to say hi to me at squarelogics.com.